put together various types of activities. So right now we're going to have a dialogue. Just like the remainder of your colleagues, your classmates, I'd like to ask you to please pay kind attention to the debate. We're really delighted you're here. And again, we'd like to give a big round of applause to all of the students from Granollers. If you are attending, give them a round of applause.
Yes. Molt bé.
Okay, so this next dialogue will be moderated by Agnès Bouchadet. It's a dialogue between Ms. Angélica Das and Ms. Rosalia Diogo. Agnès, over to you. Good morning, everyone. It's really impressive to see how many young people are here with us today. I assume some of the adults who haven't yet made their way into the room are just finishing up the coffee break. We'll see them in here in just a second. Picking up on what Marina Garces said yesterday, she spoke about gratitude, and I'd like to extend my warm thanks to the organizers, of course, and particularly to the two women sitting up here on the stage with me. They're both incredible Brazilian women, Rosalia Diogo and Angélica Das. The two of them are two women who undoubtedly, before we met each other, and this is something that happens in our lives, we might have parallel lives, lives that overlap briefly, but we have completely different experiences, and then one day we come across each other and we have such excitement to come together, as Philippe said yesterday. And this is the starting point for a new type of relationship as we hear about each other's experiences. Now, based on my knowledge of these two women, what I've read about them, they are two women who really sum up two things I've always felt throughout my life. One, the need to seek education. That was hard for me. We had limited financial resources, so I wasn't able to find my way into schooling at first, but I did manage to do so. And these two women have always fought for peace and defending human rights. Now, every day our human rights are being challenged. They're being jeopardized. People question our human rights, and I'd like to tell all of the young people in the room to read the Charter of Human Rights. There are 30 of them, and every single one is important. We heard about universality from Suleiman yesterday, and we need to have universal fraternity. That's key. Now, I want to talk about ethics and aesthetics. I'm not sure if João Carlos is still in the room, but I really learned a thing or two from him about ethics. There's a link between two people, a relationship that's established as you get to know somebody, as you look them in the eye, as you listen to them, as you listen to what they're asking for, and you provide an answer. In an ethical relationship, you have a responsibility to provide responses. And, of course, we have to bear in mind that these responses will never be 100% complete, and you'll have to think about what other answers you could provide. Now, education, if it exists, isn't pure indoctrination. That means it's a question of ethics. It shows us a path, not the path, but a path to learn how to love and be responsible in our encounters with others and with the world. Now, the world includes both nature and culture. Ethics gives us this sense of belonging without aggression or violence towards others. And aesthetics takes many forms. It has many faces. Visual arts, music, literature, photography. And that means that we can feel free or on the path towards potential freedom. The two women up here on the stage with me today, and I'm so delighted and filled with gratitude to be sitting up here on the stage with them. These two women, well, one does more research, one does more art. They work with people from other places, but the two of them do work that is both ethical and aesthetic. Somebody said to me, if somebody treats you poorly, that's just in poor taste. And that's the truth of the matter. If something is harmful, that is in poor taste, or even more harmful than that. Let me tell you a little bit about our first speaker, Rosalia. She'll speak for 10 minutes and tell you a little bit about some of the projects that she is working on worldwide, especially in Africa and in Brazil. After the 10-minute presentation, I'll introduce Angélica, who will also tell what she's working on. And then with the remaining time, we're going to use every second available. I'll have some questions, and I think we'll have some food for thought about educating cities that we wish to construct. Now, I won't tell you much about Rosalia. You can find plenty of information online, but I will tell you that she is primarily concerned with feminism and racism. So quite a bit has been said. She carries out a detailed analysis of how the media addresses racist discourse and talks about the impact the media has on building discourses which enhance these stereotypes and prejudices. She explains that beyond helping to dismantle them, what the media often does is use them as an alibi to help spread these ideas and to help them become rooted in society. She provides a scientific view to tackle the questions she analyzes to deconstruct the myth of democracy. Democracy isn't enough. It is insufficient if it does not reach every corner of society. I just want to read out a quotation from her that really struck near and dear to my heart. I'm a black woman. My whole family is black. From a poor origins, born in the city of Naboque in Minas Gerais. My childhood and teenage years were marked by extremely violent acts of racism, attempts to dehumanize me, to discredit me. I grew up, I got to Belo Horizonte, and then I started to work to collaborate and to ensure that my mental health would no longer be at risk. Now, I think that when I think about what she wrote, there are so many people here living right here who have to flee poverty, who have to flee the places where they're from to ensure their mental health is not at risk so they can see full human development. Now, Brazil has had a long history of slavery, much longer than what the false abolition of slavery would make us believe. Africans and descendants of Africans were made slaves for some 400 years, and it's only been 40 years or so since the so-called abolition of slavery. We're still discriminated against, we're still discredited, we're still negated and humiliated, dehumanized, despite the fact that people who are black or of darker skin are the majority in Brazil. Rosalia, you have the floor.
Apresentação.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I have some slides. Hello. Greetings to everyone here at this Congress, and my thanks to the fellow panelists. Thank you very much, Agnes, for steering this conversation. I met Angélica recently, and we've been friends since then. I'd like to thank you for organizing this event, and I also really appreciate how deep we're going into this topic. The way that the Congress was put together, the way it was thought out, and the topics are really excellent. And I'd especially like to thank the scientific committee, particularly my dear Brazilian friend, Ms. Satshiru, who's a great philosopher. It's a great pleasure and honor for me to be here today. Most of the people in the room are women. And our world wouldn't exist without women. So I'd also like to say a special word of welcome to the women in the room, the young women in the room, the young female students in the room. I'd like to just share part of a poem from a black woman whose work I really love. She's Brazilian, and her work has reached the world. She said, "Last night, women's eyes didn't sleep. In the evening, the nude woman keeps eyes over our memory. At night, let women's eyes not sleep. There are more eyes than we know of because all of us women are keeping watch. Women are inviting men to be with us at every time to seek true democracy and equality in this world, in this country, my country, a country where we're seeing more and more violence against women, especially black women. Femicide is growing at a staggering rate in Brazil. We need smart, sensitive, aware men to deconstruct, to stem this bloody massacre of black women. I feel very comfortable here today because I'm an educator. I work with cultural production. I work in favor of education and culture. I work with many different spheres of our cities, and we need to understand that critical thinking and creativity are a key part of the anti-racist movement. That's the only way to move forward. Now, as we heard, I was born in the center of Brazil, and then I headed out to the world. I opened my eyes to spaces, to places that could welcome me respectfully, in dignity, because I am a human being. And what I found not only in Brazil, but in other places, was a great deal of hostility and violence, attempts to undervalue our physical and intellectual ability. I was shocked to see in the media, on TV, what's happening here in Spain. I'm shocked. I was absolutely floored to see that racism continues, that there's dehumanization. I was just blown away, and I thought, do I want to go to this country to potentially be judged? Will I face physical violence, emotional violence? Maybe Spain won't know how to welcome me. But I'm here today, supported by this Congress, with open-minded people who are thinking about difference. who are thinking about difference and working to promote inclusion of our differences. That's one of the aims of this conference. Creativity, being inventive. We're called upon to speak about the very processes which can promote inequality. Yes, there is inequality. Every single human being has a way of thinking, a way of behaving, their own body, their own practices. But society, our global society, cannot continue to dehumanize the other based on their beliefs, their gender, the color of their skin. Earlier this morning, Professor Tonucci said, and I was delighted to hear this, he mentioned one case, a story of a time when somebody walked into a classroom to look for a student. And they said, "It's the kid wearing the red sweater." It was the black student. But the color of one's skin, of his skin, wasn't important. The way that he was pointed out was based on what he was wearing. In Brazil and in many other places across the globe that I had the opportunity to visit, our skin color is what comes first. Our skin tone is the reason that we are treated inhumanly, unequally, to push us aside from processes of equality, to not respect us as humans. And what have we been doing, Professor Agnes? It's exactly what you read out from when you were introducing me. I am working to start, of course, with Africa, the cradle of humanity. So we're all people of African descent. I think that's pretty clear. It's not me, Rosalia, Diogo, who has to tell you that. I think it's quite clear. Africa was the cradle of humanity. And so people of African descent tend to congregate with other people of African descent because of the color of their skin, and that doesn't make sense. We're here every day in Belo Horizonte, in Africa, in my daily life, wherever I might be, in this very room, at this Congress. I'm sharing food for thought to contrast with that idea. I'm an African woman in the Brazilian diaspora, and my body has gone through many different places. I'd like to share a few images of street art from the Art Street, a street called Art Street in the capital of Mozambique, Maputo. The majority of people who are creating ways to reveal their identity are black. And they're doing this by creating art on the street. The Art Street is transforming this neighborhood. And every piece of art is tied to their identity, their African identity. This is what we're seeing in Maputo, in Mozambique. Here's the Art Street, where I was last month, in another African country, Cape Verde. The capital is Praia, and they also have an art street. And an artist set up a gallery there on the art street because they were not provided an appropriate space to share their art. We don't want to be isolated. We want to stand alongside other people, demonstrating our talent. Belo Horizonte, the Casa Viva, the living house, education and culture. That's the name of this school, a primary school teaching kids from the age of 6 to 14. Look at that. education and culture. It's printed on the walls of the school. It's impossible to understand Brazil without understanding Africa, and I fully agree. Now, I am responsible for a Brazilian magazine, which is also available online. It's called Cangere, and it's fully inspired by an idea I learned about in 2014 in Barcelona. And that gave rise to this magazine. The idea was to create worlds. I got to Brazil and I said, okay, it's time to create this magazine. Let's share our questions. Let's raise awareness about our African and Black art and culture. Here's the magazine, Cangere. The very first publication had Paulina Chiziana on the cover, an incredible intellectual from Mozambique. I had the great honor and pleasure to do some of my doctoral research by comparing her work with the work of Conceição Varista, a Brazilian woman. For those of you who don't know, Paulina Chiziana won the Camões Literature Prize recently. It's one of the most important global literature prizes. And another cover of our magazine shows me. I'm in the capital of Angola, Luanda, with a prince. And I'm holding the first magazine, the first edition of Cangere that I told you about. So talking about Black or African intellectuals, talking about African art and culture, we do that in Brazil. But it's a huge pleasure and privilege to have traveled to 7 different African countries, and I felt fully in line with the work done there, the intellectual work, the work to recognize artists and thinkers from Africa, cities, these African cities, just like we're trying to do in Brazil, just like this Congress is trying to do. These cities are being marked by culture and street art. Cape Verde, the capital, Praia. There is the Poets' Ramp in the center of the city. And we can see the faces of many African intellectuals educating people on the street through a street mural. The streets in Praia, the capital of Cape Verde. Now you can see here it says, Mon pays est une musique. My country is music. Music, culture, audiovisual art. It's in galleries, it's in schools, but it's also on the streets. So, I'm delighted to be here at this Congress. I know I'm almost out of time. And I saw this here, just outside, and I thought it was quite powerful to see that on the street. So I just wanted to say how I really feel identified with what we're doing and how embraced I am by society.
Rosalia nos ha mostrado ya maneras.
We've learned ways to conquer urban space from Rosalia. Citizens' actions. And I think there's no doubt about it. We can see just how powerful this will be for Granollers. She spoke from a place of poetry, art, of embracing differences, of recognizing that each and every person has shared origins. Now I'd like to tell you about Angélica Das. She's also from Brazil, but she's been working in Spain for many years. Check out her project. It's called Humanae. I'm sure we'll hear about it and what Rosalia just referred to. So, just like I did with Rosalia, I'd like to share my own personal experience by reading out just a little snippet. The first one I saw actually in a YouTube video a few years ago, and it really impacted me. Her question was as follows. What color is a skin-colored pencil? White, black, red, yellow? I was born in a very colorful family, she said. My father was a dark chocolate color. Hey, this is a spoiler. I'll stop there because I imagine you'll pick up on this idea. I think it's such a delicious idea. Next time you ask somebody to pick up a skin-colored pencil and they give you a black one, you can't say anything. I'll hand it over to you.
I didn't want to interrupt her, but that's exactly how I was going to start. I don't know if anybody has already heard this, but I always describe my family in the same way. So I'm afraid if you have heard me, I'm going to be repeating myself. I love it. It's a celebration. It's how I get into this project. Because indeed, I was born into a very colorful family. My father is the son of a childminder, a nanny, and he is an intense chocolate color. My grandmother, however, had porcelain skin. My grandfather was kind of like a vanilla and strawberry yogurt. My mother, cinnamon-colored. She's the descendant of the original people who are a kind of a hazelnut color. And then I've got a sister who is like toasted peanut, and then I've got a sister who's beige, and then my grandfather, coffee with milk, cappuccino color, with a lot of characters. So growing up in this family, color wasn't important for me, but outside the home, things were different. As we've heard, Rosalia spoke about Brazil, people who were enslaved in the 19th century. And now we can talk about this in the 20th and 21st century. But this project comes from that colorful family of mine. But obviously, I never understood why human beings were classified between black, white, yellow, and orange. I always say that I started taking photos when I was 30-odd, but I started thinking about this when I was a school children. I never understood when the teacher gave me this pink pencil and called it a flesh-colored pencil. That wasn't the color of my skin. I'm talking in Spanish because I've been living here in Spain. I married a Spanish man, a pink-skinned man, 5 seconds in the sun, and he burns. He goes totally lobster-colored. People ask me what color my skin my son would have. It wasn't important to me, but it was important to other people. How do I decide to teach how I see my family? That's the way I see the world. I give a different background. I can paint the background. I look for the corresponding color in this Pantone language color. What about blue? Is it sky blue, sea blue, butterfly blue? In this language of colors, there are loads of numbers for the color black and loads of numbers for the color white. I'm going to give you a spoiler. I never found a human being that matched with these colors. We are thinking about why we reduce ourselves in this way. As you can see, there were all the colors here. That's my father. That's how I want to be when I'm older. And there's my grandmother. So you can see how I see what existed in my house. This project began here at this museum gallery in Madrid and Milan. And you can see people putting their hands on the images. That often happens. We're talking about genetics, really. I love science museums because you can see that I'm not talking just about the history of my family, and I want to read you something. You can see this. Eyes, hair, skin. Humans are wonderfully colorful, but skin color has been misused to separate people into races, and attitudes toward race have long been used to justify discrimination, genocide, segregation. But as Rosalia was saying, we're 99.9% genetically identical. We all here share the same ancestors, and we're all one species, quite obviously, and that's why I love what exists in the Natural History Museum in New York, saying that Lucy is at the center, connecting all of us. And that's what I see with all of those colors on the wall. But now we're in an educating city. My favorite place is the street. As you can see, I love to occupy public space throughout the world because that's what we do. Young people who are looking for themselves and talking about their identity. And then there's that man who often believes they don't belong. They also form part of the conversation. Now, figures. I've got almost 5,000 portraits in 20 countries in 39 cities throughout the world, from Addis Ababa in Ethiopia to South Korea, obviously in North America, the USA, Canada, Mexico, Brazil, Argentina, Chile, Ecuador, in the south of America, and then in loads of places throughout Europe. But what I'm trying to say really is that perhaps the most important thing that you'll find in those photos is the lack of information. You don't know who's rich, who's poor, who's an immigrant or not, where I took the photo. Any information in those images, I'm afraid, belongs only to your stereotypes. What do we do when we act in this way? And I've taken photos in Paris, at UNESCO, and with people who were homeless. I've worked with schools in Rio de Janeiro, in shanty towns, and also I've worked in Switzerland. All kinds of people. Disabled people, such as people from Once here in Spain, they all form human eye. And that often happens. Look, some people have exactly the same skin color, but probably we would label these people, some of us might label these people with different races. Concept is a social construct. If it's a social construct, I think I can deconstruct it. And that's why I jump from the museum wall. I seem to be the first one who's having problems with the clicker. I go to the classroom, and that's exactly what we did here. What we do is, using primary colors and black and white, we ask pupils to create their own skin color. It's not about diversity. We're using primary colors and black and white because children think they're like magic. They can produce skin color mixing red and green. Green is yellow and blue. You can make brown, and then with brown you can create all kinds of tones. That brown is important for me to celebrate the first Homo sapiens family that came from the African continent. Seeking adventure or a better life, I don't know, but what I do know is that we're all here from that family. It's important for pupils to understand that we're going to start with the same material, and the end result is going to be totally different. Here you can see the process. I love it when you use the same colors to end up with your own color. These children's works of art are far more interesting, in fact. There. The clicker doesn't like me. Ah, there we go. Their works of art are far more interesting than anything I might be able to do. And I'd like to insist that when I'm talking about diversity, I'm not talking about the quantity of melanin we've got in our skin. Among those pupils, I've worked with deaf pupils and sometimes autistic children. I work with children of all abilities. And I'd like to highlight this photo in particular, this school in the Czech Republic, where we trained 48 children to be multipliers. The challenge was to think that we're working with lots of beige and pink colors. There wasn't much diversity among all of the colors, but perhaps the most important piece of information we drew from this is that the only thing that was white was the paper that we were painting on. That's a social construct. The problem isn't the word black and white, it's the adjectives that we associate with what's white and what's black. Those 48 pupils attended the workshop and repeated it with some 2,500 pupils in their region. The idea was to educate other people. Just like our Congress participants, those pupils were leaders in the project. And then, as you can see, the objective is that they go out into the street, they teach people, and that was during the Art Education Week in Chile, involving 75,000 pupils from the entire country, painting their portraits and then going out into the street. And here we are at the end in Granollers. I've almost finished my presentation. I came last year in October to train 90 multipliers, and they actually transformed those self-portraits. You've seen some of them outside and in different parts of the city. And I should say that I was honored to accompany that process, as you can see through Instagram, because what was lovely was that these people shared with me everything that was happening throughout the process. You can see some images here of occupying public space with these self-portraits, working together, and even thinking about creative ways to ensure that people who weren't aware of race, such as little children in nursery schools. It's great to see that we've got a colourful world. We live in a colourful world. Looking at the photos, for example, of people comparing their skin colour with tiles there. And there I am at the end. I'm super happy in that photo, looking at that work of art, and I'm really proud of it as well. And this is part of what you can see on the streets. I'm never going to be able to portray the 8 million inhabitants of the world, but without any education, I will never manage anything. I'm sorry, I'm quite emotional about this. Because, look, this was a present that a little girl brought me this morning. That's me. She found out who I was, she found out about my Pantone color, and this is a version of me that this little girl created. I'm going to go home full of love. What Granollers has given me is precisely that, love. Because I can't invent a time machine to go back to my school and classmates, but together with teachers we can transform the experience so that no other children experiences the negative experiences I had at school. Thank you very much. I'm sorry that I took up a little bit more time than scheduled. Just look. What we're doing is leaving the time dimension. We don't need only critical thinking, but we need time. And I think that both of the experiences presented today enable us to think. All of you here can see how alike or how different we are can be used to transform the city. Angélica's project and Rosalia's projects are undoubtedly projects that build bridges. John Powell was talking about the need to build bridges. Simpler bridges, more complex bridges, small bridges, big bridges, wobbly bridges, strong bridges. It's all about building bridges. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions until I'm told to stop, because, of course, we could talk for hours. Rosalia, through her research, talks about pathologies, the diseases suffered by Brazilian society. I understand that these are diseases that don't affect only Brazil, but they affect societies worldwide. She talks about racism, xenophobia, transphobia, classism, and talks about also the fact that our society isn't aware, and here's the danger, it isn't aware of those diseases, and since it isn't aware, it doesn't think it's ill and doesn't think it needs to go to the doctor, and could actually die. And that's exactly what happens here. People don't know because they don't want to find out about their diseases. Now, both of you, how can cities illustrate those diseases that we're suffering from without increasing the disease itself, rather reducing or curing the disease, showing us our fears that prevent us to embrace difference? You have the floor. Well, I think what I try to do and what we try to do, first of all, is to create a space for dialogue, because what happens in the classroom is this. Perhaps it comes from the city because the school belongs to the city and the community, creating a space for dialogue, an educational space. But primarily, I think we need to focus on teachers. And perhaps that's what I try to do with my art in general, create mirrors for things that are so different. I've listened to talk about finding points in common. When you can find a way of conversing so that people can recognize that disease, it's a matter of holding up a mirror to those people. In my case, by teaching or broadening narratives, seeking to extend what people think the world is, their universe, their history, that it's only theirs, trying to find ways of opening up the perspective. Well, I think the problem is that school is a representation of society, but more often than not, what happens at school doesn't go out into the streets. And what you said about the school children in Granollers, we saw the work in the streets, but I wonder the extent to which citizens really understand the work that's done in the school. Well, yes, one of the things I always do with those projects is ask schools if there's a before and after, and what happens at school, because that's the idea. Is what I'm doing working, or is it of use? So sometimes I wonder if people don't talk about skin color anymore. Once a mother came to say, what's happened in the class? Because the child came home correcting the mother when she said that her pants were flesh-colored. Whose flesh? Said the child. So when children have arguments, and we're talking about critical thinking, and they can go home and make that point, I think that's when we can make the connection between what's outside the school and what's inside the school. Well, I think that our Brazilian society has a number of diseases, and, well, it's a homophobic, transphobic, racist country. It's sexist, patriarchal. It's the country that in which more trans people are killed worldwide. Black people form the majority of Brazilian society. Brazil has the largest black-skinned society in the world, after Nigeria. So it's absurd how much we're discriminated against, and how Brazilian society prioritizes and promotes the European culture and North American culture by denying that Afrocentricity. So trying to impose on us a different culture. So I think that movements such as this one, talking together, I'm not talking only about Brazil, but talking about the issue, presenting models and practices. There are, and we do denounce this, it's fundamental to be present in schools. We have to write. I also write. I'm also an intellectual. And a previous speaker said that in Brazil we've got Eliane Brum. We've got this structure, and sometimes people don't recognize that black people can be intellectual. I just wanted to point that out. Conceição Evaristo, the writer, she's been present in a number of countries in the world. Now, she says that she can dance. Yes, she can dance, but she's also an intellectual. So we need to deconstruct that look, the way in which we're seen, the way in which people look at what we're doing, and the way in which people view our ability. This is through congresses and presence in schools, so that we can contribute to debunk that myth of democracy. We can say it's not true that we're all the same. Look at the black population in Spain, France, and the UK, all on the outskirts. People are coming from the African continent. They're attacked here. They don't get citizenship. All of this needs to be denounced. So you're saying, to a certain extent, that a white European man or woman also needs to be brave enough to systematically report these situations. Is that the case? I'm sorry, I missed that, says the speaker. I'm asking if what you're saying is that we need to be brave enough to write, draw, demonstrate, go against those behaviors in order to transform this society, which is basically capitalist, patriarchal, homophobic, often. We need to be braver. We European white people need to be braver because we're used to living comfortably, often without looking to the outskirts of our cities. So sometimes we need to be braver to report and denounce these things. I think that all of us, including me, can use our position of privilege precisely to take a step forward and deal with issues. I'm an Afro woman in Spain, but I am more privileged than people who come from the Sahara, for example, immigrants who are coming from Africa, and I can use, and I do use that privilege to talk about those situations. And I think that in the world in which we live, all of us, absolutely all of us, can and should use our positions of privilege. Obviously, privilege is linked to gender, earning power, etc. But we need to try to construct that fair democratic society that we want to build. All of us can do that. Well, yes, I fully agree with what you say. I think it's a bit provocative. We're talking at the end of the day about a fight for privilege, a fight to climb the ladder. It's an economic matter. So looking at Brazilian society, or rather, well, the African continent is at the center of this, but that fight is normally undertaken by white men who are socially presenting as heterosexual. They don't understand the African culture. They're saying we are in power because of European culture or US culture, which means that we hold the knowledge. We're working for you. And actually, that's not true. The knowledge comes from Africa. It comes from Egypt. They don't hold the knowledge. It comes from Ethiopia. So our learned potential is denied. People talk about Aristotle, but they don't talk about African thinkers. People need to think about this fight that exists in all spheres of knowledge and in all segments of society. It's not easy to be a black woman today in the world when white women were going out to fight on the streets about equality. Black women were stuck in the kitchen or washing clothes. So our intellectuality isn't recognized today. It's not easy to be a black woman. It's not easy to be poor. It's not easy to be gay. None of these so-called anomalies are easy in this society. Yes, but I'm still concerned. Look, I'm looking out at the public, and I don't know what Pantone color would come out of that. But if I imagine the city of Granollers, the outskirts, even here, aren't, the people from the outskirts aren't really represented, the people from the periphery. So this is my question. How does the city get to the citizens, those citizens living in the periphery, who can seldom take part in these events, sometimes because they're not even aware of them? Not just events like this one, but in all kinds of other activities that might be taking place in the city. And once you answer this question, perhaps we might have to conclude. I'd like to add to that, though, because you need to think that there are lots of artistic projects. I'm thinking about what I can do for someone who's working all day with the kids at home, and then they have to get home and help their kids with their homework or take them to extracurricular activities. Okay, I haven't seen much diversity here, but I have seen that among the pupils outside, and I think that that's important. And I still have hope for education and all of the conversations that can take place in that space. But maybe so that education goes out onto the street, perhaps we have to close the school. Well, this is the way I see it. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. I like running. I think it's a marathon. I don't think I'll be able, even though I love it, to see the benefits of this or reap the fruits of what I've sown. I don't care. I'll keep sowing seeds because I'm sure that some trees will grow from them. Would you like to add to that? Well, I think that you wanted to say something about this. I'd just like to thank you for inviting me here. I'd like to congratulate the scientific committee, the choice of the theme, the choice of the venue, Granollers is a city that's really educating people in the streets. I'd also like to thank those young Congress participants. How great. Isn't it great that we've got kids learning that we need to think about inclusion, that we need to practice inclusion. We come from a process of non-inclusion, and we're here to do the opposite, to ensure that we really do have an equal society. There can't be democracy with so many inequalities. We need democracy, and we're really missing a lot. Thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you very much to all of you listening to us, and let's hope that we can have many more such events in lots of different places so that we can multiply this.
Ho deixem aquí. De nou, un agraïment.
Thank you very much to Angélica and Rosalia for explaining their projects to us, and we sincerely hope that the strength of this international congress, and as Pablo Sendro the other day said, we can move slowly towards building those neighborhoods that will be ours and that better connect the city's center to the outskirts, also that the outskirts can become central, as the title of this session says. Let's embrace difference. Thank you very much.
Senyores i senyors,
Ladies and gentlemen, the time has come to present the declaration from the 18th International Congress of Educating Cities. I'd like to invite up to the stage the president of the Congress's Scientific Committee, Juan Manuel del Pozo, and the director of the Latin American Network, Laura Alfonso. They'll also be joined by 6 students representing the more than 1,500 students who were part of the Children and Teens Congress this year.
gràcies senyor Del Pozo, gràcies.
Thank you, Mr. Del Pozo, Ms. Alfonso. We'll start with our kids.
Hola a tots i totes.
Good afternoon. Today, we represent all of the students from primary and secondary school from the 23 educational schools that participated. La Roca del Vallès, Las Franquesas, Canovelles, y Granollers. 4 cities. We represent over 1,500 fellow classmates. We know that you've spent many days working hard, and we've been working for months as part of the Children and Teens Congress. It's been intense, creative, and very enriching. We were asked many questions. We had many conversations with classmates from other schools. We thought about various projects we could put together and did quite a bit of work. On the first floor, there's an exhibition where you can see our work. What every school did. You'll see that every project is different. Bear in mind that at the last school meeting, we put together a draft statement. And Angélica can tell you about that. She was responsible for training our teachers and the various methodologies that we used. So Ms. Satiro did that. Chair of the Scientific Committee, Juan Manuel del Pozo. We hope that our work and our declaration can be reflected in the minutes of the Congress and the final declaration. We know that's not normal, but it had to happen at some point. What already happened? Children, kids, teens from the city organizing and educating cities Congress participated actively. So in Granollers, we can say we were the first to do so. You did great work. We're sure. We were here. We listened. We wanted to be here. We saw your exhibitions. We had conversations. We asked many questions. Thank you very much for listening.
Moltes gràcies.
Thank you. Thank you for these remarks. Could you just tell us your names? Enola, Leo, Jasmine, Paul, Luar, and Mel. Thank you. Students from Granollers. Thank you very much. If you could just stand here. We'll hear from the chair of the scientific committee, Mr. Pozo, shaking all of your hands representing the 1,500 plus students who were part of the Children and Adolescents Congress from the region. Another big round of applause for them all. Mr. Del Pozo, you have the floor. Thank you very much. Thank you to all the children and teens, and of course to all of the Congress participants for all of your work to date. It falls to me to fill a formal role, reading out the provisional, the draft final statement, and I understand that this will be fleshed out with the comments made by the students. The executive committee of the Educating Cities Association will put these two together, both my statement, Laura's statement, and the statement from the youth. I think this is something unique, but I hope it happens at future Educating Cities Congresses. Really ensuring that boys, girls, teens have a real key role in the process of the Congress of Educating Cities.
Passo, doncs, al moment formal.
I will now read out the first part of the final declaration of the 18th International Congress of Educating Cities, held in Granollers from May 26th to 29th, 2026. The celebration of the 18th International Congress, despite the global context of major political tensions and even serious armed conflicts, has taken place in an atmosphere cantered on the values of the Charter of Educating Cities, one committed to peaceful participatory participation. In light of the complexity, the principles, diversity, global peace, and the right to culture, participation, and inclusion, as well as belonging, and 20, interdependence of the local and global dimension. The Congress proposes that the major values of education and culture become a real reality in our cities through three main ways. First, by building a true community of citizens. This exists when all individuals feel that they are a real part of a joint, welcoming we, where every person sees themselves recognized. The full feeling of this joint us is incompatible with discrimination, unequal rights, and exclusion. Furthermore, we recognize that human life is eco-dependent and interdependent. To exist, we need to care for one another. The second idea is the idea of promotion of a critical citizenry. This is one of the key elements that guarantees individual freedom, today especially threatened by information overload and the constant manipulation exerted by major technological platforms. And that is education and critical thinking. Critical thinking, to educate critical thinking, we quite simply educate for freedom. The third axis of the Congress's work has focused on the creative nature of individuals and of the city itself. Creativity can be best understood as something that actively generates initiatives, seeking a way to see the world and unique, stimulating ways of participating in community. The new challenges we face also call for creative solutions and joint action of local governments and citizenry. For these reasons, promoting programs which bolster creativity amongst citizens will help generate social capital. For all these reasons, the cities and towns participating in the International Congress of Educating Cities, held in Granollers in May 2026, aspire to live in a progressively more just and peaceful world based on the following objectives. 1. Promote education and culture to build communities that, from within their internal diversity, ensure social cohesion, intercultural dialogue, and the inclusion of all people. 2. Work on critical thinking amongst citizens to guarantee freedom within our cities, and autonomy and protection of human rights, and emerging digital rights. 3. Encourage creativity among all individuals, associations, and organizations through all educational and cultural institutions in the city in order to guarantee a fulfilling life for people as unique, initiative-driven subjects.
Por todo ello,
To this end, we commit to creating meeting spaces that foster intercultural dialogue among different cultural, religious, and linguistic communities. promoting initiatives that help build a sense of community, one in which differences are recognized and respected, and a shared feeling of belonging is supporting initiatives for resolving social conflicts, community mediation, and the promotion of a culture of peace through dialogue, encouraging projects that celebrate diversity and plurality, showing how these characteristics enrich urban life and contribute to the city's identity, promoting educational and cultural initiatives that address and seek to reduce inequalities and processes of exclusion and segregation, advancing policies and actions that benefit the entire community. Educating for participation by promoting spaces for dialogue, where people can express their ideas, listen to different viewpoints, and learn to argue respectfully and with sound reasoning. Fostering citizen participation in the transformation of the urban environment through projects that strengthen participatory democracy and the collective construction of the city, acting proactively in the current context of eco-social crisis in which we find ourselves. Promoting critical thinking and reflection on the information we consume, addressing the phenomenon of disinformation and training citizens to question and analyze sources of knowledge. Encouraging citizen creativity through workshops, activities, and programs that allow people to explore and develop their creative potential. Supporting transformative educational models that combine creativity and innovation in different contexts, such as community, technological, or cultural projects. Creating collaborative platforms or spaces that facilitate the exchange of knowledge, experiences, and good practices, strengthening collective creativity. Promoting co-creation initiatives between citizens and municipal cultural centers, where artists, young people, and adults can express themselves, experiment, and share their creative ideas. Supporting initiatives to address urban challenges creatively through co-creation laboratories where citizens and local government can reflect on their environment and share creative proposals. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Del Pozo, Ms. Alfonso. This was the declaration of the 18th International Congress of Educating Cities. Thank you very much. Round of applause for them all. To celebrate the reading out of this declaration, we've got a wonderful singer from here who will be singing, Paula Grande, a piece called Always Together.
Hola, estem sempre juntes, estem sempre juntes. Perdre o guanyar, caure o nedar, no hi haurà res que ens faci abandonar. Colze a colze, mà a mà, estem sempre juntes. Viure el joc, foc en foc, la nit bonica ens omple tot. Braç en braç, mà en mà, estem sempre juntes. Sempre l'escalfor. La 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 la. És la claror, lluny de la por. Perdre o guanyar, caure o nedar, no hi haurà res que ens faci abandonar. Colze a colze, mà amb mà, estem sempre ajuntats. Sent de la nit l'escalfor, la 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 la. És la claror. Sent de la nit l'escalfor, la 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 la. És la claror, estem sempre juntes, sempre juntes. Moltes gràcies.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Paula. A huge round of applause for Paula Grande for Sempre Juntas, Always Together. We've read out the declaration. We had a great musical performance, and now it's time for the presentation of the 2026 Educating Cities Award. I'd like to invite Vanessa Wajik up to the stage. She'll be moderating this round of presentation of the Educating Cities Award. She's a member of the Secretariat of the IAEC. Vanessa. I'd also like to invite up the Mayor of Granollers, Alba Barnuselli, who will be speaking after that, as well as Marina Casals, the General Secretary of the International Association of Educating Cities. Round of applause for her. The Deputy Mayor of Leon, Mexico, the Director General for Municipal Education of Leon, Mexico, Jonathan Gonzalez.
Bom dia, good morning, bonjour, buenos días a todas y todos, casi buenas tardes.
Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the Secretariat of the International Association of Educating Cities, we wish to welcome those present in Granollers and those joining us virtually to the 2026 Educating Cities Award ceremony, which is now in its 6th edition. The Educating Cities Award aims to recognize and give international visibility to the work that educating cities carry out, as well as to highlight good practices that can be a source of inspiration for other municipalities. To begin the 2026 Educating Cities Award ceremony, I now give the floor to the General Secretary of our association, Ms. Marina Canals.
Queridos amigos,
Dear friends, we're in the home stretch of this Congress, and I'm delighted to be hosting the award ceremony. This is our 6th edition of the ceremony, and as Vanessa said, the idea is to raise awareness about transformative projects that help us to constantly improve our cities. This award recognizes teams carrying out this work and stimulates them, promotes them, both them and their authorities. In the 6th edition, we received 61 applications from 48 cities in 10 countries on 3 continents. Our association has 500 cities, so I'd like to encourage everyone here who didn't present a project, who has yet to do so, at any time to do so. This is a great initiative to shed light on our work, to showcase it globally, to share what we're doing with other cities in the network, and to recognize the work you're doing and move forward towards more educating, cohesive cities. In this edition, we recognized good practices tied to education as a source of inclusion and social cohesion. And I think you'll be swept away by the 10 finalists and 3 winners that we will be hearing from, and we'll be congratulating them and applauding them throughout the ceremony. Thank you again, and again, congratulations in advance to all of our finalists and our winners.
Expressamos a nossa mais
We express our deepest gratitude to the jury for their critical analysis, hours of dedication, and the enthusiasm that they showed in evaluating all the applications. The jury for this edition is composed of personalities from the world of academia and the cities of Katowice, who unfortunately wasn't able to join us here right now, and Lyon, representing the executive committee. The jury is Lauri Tuomi, the executive director of the Finnish Lifelong Learning Foundation and president of the European Association for the Education of Adults. Jarosław Makowski, deputy mayor of Katowice, who is also a journalist, publicist, writer, and teacher. Zareli Sibaya, a special educator and doctoral student in education. She currently directs the Institute of General Studies at the State Distance University of Costa Rica and is a member of the steering committee of the Latin American Council of Social Sciences. She also coordinates the UNED Academic Accessibility Network. Mr. Gonzalez, the General Director of Municipal Education of León, Mexico, a member of the Executive Committee of the Association and the International Association of the Children's City Project. Aina Tarabini, full professor of Sociology of Education at the Autonomous University of Barcelona, and the director of the research group called Globalization, Education, and Social Policies. Thank you very much to the members of the 2026 Educating Cities Award jury. A round of applause for them.
Passamos agora a entrega do
We will now move on to the presentation of diplomas to our finalists in alphabetical order. First up, we invite Mr. Kang Im-jun, the mayor of Gansan, South Korea, to receive the award for the Community Meeting Cultural Cafe project, an initiative that transforms community stores and spaces into open classrooms where citizens can learn, connect, and create new job opportunities. Please step up to the stage, Mr. Kang Im-jun, mayor of Gansan.
forte aplauso para Gunzão.
A warm round of applause for Gunsan.
A continuação, vamos...
Next, we'll call up the next finalist, the municipality of Madrid, Spain, for their project La Quinta Cocina, the fifth kitchen, offering practical training in the hospitality sector to young people at risk of vulnerability with the aim of helping them find jobs. On behalf of the Madrid City Council, Mr. Javier Gardon, General Director of Family and Childhood, will receive the award.
Agora convidamos...
I now invite up to the stage Ms. Ivana Rocha Tissot, Coordinator of Art and Creativity at the Roberto Pirovano Zanata Public School, representing the City Council of Passo Fundo, Brazil. The project is School of Professions, a space for providing professional qualifications and promoting entrepreneurship.
Seguimos com o reconhecimento.
Our next finalist for the 6th edition of the 2026 Educating Cities Award is the city of Rosario, Argentina. Their project is Digital Stations. The program promotes the development of digital skills as essential tools for social inclusion and equitable access to employment and educational opportunities. Mr. Federico Valentini, the Secretary of Culture and Education of the Municipality of Rosario, will receive the award.
E seguimos na.
Our next finalist is in Argentina. It's the municipality of San Justo. Their program is called Acompañar Lifelong Learning. It's a socio-educational initiative for comprehensive and ongoing support that was born as a municipal public policy. Mr. Nicolas Cuesta, the mayor of San Justo, will receive the award.
Passamos a reconhecer a.
Our next winner is from Turin. The project is called Try It Again, Sam. It includes prevention and educational support to prevent school dropouts and offer a second opportunity to young people at high risk or those who have already abandoned their studies. Ms. Carlota Salerno, Secretary of Education from the City of Turin, and Mr. Claudio Shafara, Technical Director of Education, will receive the award on behalf of the city.
E a nossa última.
Our final finalist is the city nearby, the nearby city of Viladecans. Their project is called the School of New Opportunities. It's an educational and training resource aimed at young people who have dropped out of school or who are at risk of social exclusion. We invite Ms. Irene Reos, the Secretary of Education from Viladecans, to receive the award.
Passaremos agora a.
And we'll now move on to our 3 winners of the 6th edition of the Educating Cities Award, also in alphabetical order. First, I invite the Mayor of Losada, Portugal, Mr. Nelson Oliveira, to receive the award for the Biogenerations program. Nature Uniting Generations. The jury valued lifelong education, lifelong learning, connecting different generations around sustainability and environmental conservation.
Agora veremos o vídeo.
We'll now see the video of the Losada initiative, and then we'll hear from the mayor. Biogenerations, Nature Uniting Generations. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pride and enthusiasm that I share with you the impact of the Biogenerations program in our municipality of Losada. This program consists of an intergenerational educational offer aimed at preschool pupils, all levels of education, and the senior citizens of the Losada Council. Based on the goals of promoting scientific and environmental literacy, as well as social cohesion and cooperation, the program focuses on creating meaningful learning moments between different generations. Biogenerations explores themes related to the natural, cultural, and historical heritage of the region, organized into two fundamental areas of action. On the one hand, it fosters knowledge that complements the curricula of subjects such as natural sciences, English, visual arts, history, and geography, among others. On the other hand, it crosses the academic knowledge of our students with the technical and empirical knowledge of our older people, linked, for example, to traditions and crafts, enriching both with skills in terms of knowledge, ways of being, and know-how. Ultimately, this educational offer contributes to a more aware, fairer, and more active society. Since its start in 2020, the project has established itself in the promotion of environmental education and social cohesion, uniting the best we have, our people and our territory. Biogenerations is born from a simple but profoundly transformative idea, bringing generations closer through nature. Over these years, more than 550 activities have been carried out, involving more than 10,500 seniors and around 2,300 children and young people. These numbers represent much more than participation. They represent encounters, the sharing of scientific and environmental knowledge, and the building of community. I'd also like to highlight the direct environmental impact. More than 2,000 trees and shrubs were planted in dozens of reforestation actions and hundreds of hours of active involvement by the participants. The true value of biogenerations goes beyond the numbers. This is a program that promotes lifelong learning, combats social isolation, and values the knowledge and experience of our older people, placing them at the heart of the action as active agents of change. It's also a clear example of how a municipality can mobilize different sectors, education, environment, social action, and work in a network of more than 150 partner entities, creating a solid, inclusive, sustainable project. This recognition gains even greater meaning when framed within the international context in which it was assessed. In total, 61 applications from 48 cities and 10 countries were analyzed in a demanding and highly competitive process. And it is with great honor that I learned that Losada was one of the 3 winners of the 2026 Educating Cities Award in the category of Good Practices in Education as a Source of Inclusion and Social Cohesion. The Biogenerations Environmental Education Program, Nature Uniting Generations, sees in this award a recognition of the collective work of all the partners, technicians, teachers, seniors, citizens, children, and families who make this project a living, transformative reality. And all this happens in the unique setting of our territory, where various intergenerational activities were carried out, right here in the Vilar Forest, the lungs of Losada, with 15 hectares of forest area. This space perfectly symbolizes what we want for the future: a greener, more sustainable, and more socially connected municipality. Biogenerations represents the commitment to education, sustainability, and social cohesion. We will continue to invest in this work. strengthening this model because when we unite generations around nature, we are building stronger, more aware communities, communities better prepared for the challenges of the future. There was a project to clean up the rivers. And then, when I was at the Messio River, if I could go there in the afternoon I was asked if I could go there in the afternoon with the guitar to play a few songs. But actually, I was quite worried because I thought that when I got there, I'd take my guitar, I'd play, and they would just carry on with the cleaning, and I'd be singing to the little fish and the birds, and no one would pay any attention. The truth is that everyone stopped. I was very well received, and they applauded. It was a fantastic moment. At the primary school where we are, I went there twice to teach the younger generations how to farm the land, how to plant a garden, how to plant, for example, peppers, tomatoes, how to sow maize. What was really interesting was how attentive they were and how they began to share ideas based on what I was telling them. I think I taught them about how to cultivate a vegetable garden. I taught them because I saw that they were really interested indeed. They liked it, and they taught us that they are capable of so much. Working or playing with young people, not of their age, or with us. So I think all of this is positive, and they were great moments that I enjoyed sharing. Good afternoon, everyone. After watching this video, I think one thing is clear. Biogenerations is more than a project, an environmental project. It's a project that brings together people, creating ties between generations, demonstrating that a community is stronger when no one is left behind. Receiving this award, this international award, is a huge honor for Losada, and it represents a responsibility. We must continue to build a more sustainable, more inclusive, more human city. For those of you who are interested in learning more about the educational program, the environmental program, Biogenerations, and I'd like to thank you for all the work. I actually brought some flyers that I'd be happy to share with you all. I'd also like to thank everybody who helped to make this possible. Schools, teachers, officials, partners, families, older people and younger people. This prize truly belongs to the entire community, and hence it belongs to everyone who believes that education must transform territories and improve our lives. Losada will remain committed to this path. Biogenerations, valuing knowledge and caring for our shared community, our shared future. Thank you.
A seguinte premiada.
The next award is the city of Medellin in Colombia with the Partners program, which transforms the lives of young people at risk or in the process of disengaging from criminal activities. To collect the diploma, we'll call on the representative of Medellin, Ms. Paulina Patiño, the head of the Partners project.
Vamos agora conhecer pouco mais do projeto parceiro.
We're going to find a little bit more about the project in the video. 43% of the country's criminal organizations operate in Medellin. There are 350 criminal groups that recruit around 1,000 minors every year. These groups total 6,000 members and can rise to 12,000. If direct and indirect roles are included, their main source of income is drug trafficking, sexual exploitation, and extortion. These structures have controlled territories for years, becoming the most successful businesses in the neighborhoods. growing up in an environment where someone would get shot in class, where you greet someone at the store and then walk, turn home, go home, and here they just shot the person you greeted 7 times. When I was about 9 years old, seeing how many needs my family had, I started to sell drugs. I was always surrounded by bad influences and bad examples, and the only ones who helped me were my friends who were in prostitution. So that's where I started. At 19, I got a partner. He forced me to be with other men for money. I've always believed, actually, that these criminals only want to use many young people for their own benefit. They don't care what happens to their lives. We do care about what happens to the lives of our children and young people. The most beautiful thing about parceros is that we're breaking cycles, breaking spirals of criminality. Spirals where families for generations have been involved in crime and consumption. Here, there are young people determined that they don't want that anymore. If parceros weren't part of my life, and not in the lives of many young people in this program, our lives would be a little bit more negative, because despite everything bad that we've lived through, we don't want to show the same, but instead we want to replace violence with culture, art, and music. And that's what we're doing. For me, the Parceros group has been a new opportunity in life, both socially and academically. A program like Parceros is precisely about giving everything, because young people are not only the present, but they're going to be the future of our society. And the question is, what kind of society do we want in the future? We're young people with a lot of talent. We're young people who want to move forward. We're young people who want to protect the future of our society. The stories of these young people are reaching boards and committees, raising awareness in the private sector, not just saying we must help, but rather understanding the value that this population brings to all of us as a society. The only plan is to help, and things have been working out in a very positive way. And we keep on rethinking, what more can we do? It has all of us at Argos deeply committed. Wherever we go, we share what we're doing with parceros, and we want more parceros to be trained and employed. I never thought I would work with Argos or be where I am today. I'm happy because it's a beautiful opportunity that I've been given. We also premiered the Parceros documentary with the History Channel. These stories are now reaching the whole world. They're stories of courage, of young people who chose to do things differently in a difficult environment. And the most beautiful part is that we're now sharing them with the entire world. Thank you very much for these opportunities, for making many things possible, and for helping many young people move forward. First of all, thanks to the mayor and to all of the parceros here. We can succeed, and we've become better people, and we've set a better example.
Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon. Thanks, first of all, to the organizers, to the mayor, to all those people who have been here and who have come from different cities and different municipalities. I think that together, this is the fabric that's going to help us to build the cities we dream of. I'm proud to represent my city, to represent all these young people, because these kids didn't have a voice. They're kids and young people who thought that their future was linked to one single thing: crime. We live in a city, Medellin, where 43% of criminal structures all over Colombia operate. These structures don't only operate in Medellin, but also in our country and other countries. These young people are sad to have been co-opted into these criminal structures because they're so vulnerable. They're forced to consume drugs from a very young age. And often it's their parents who get them into this. These things dehumanize people. They're histories in which those of us who grow in different places aren't aware of. So from the Federico Gutierrez authorities, we tried to humanize these people who were never going to have doors opened for them because they thought that their only destiny was going to be a life of crime. We've been working with children for 10 years. Children who said that they dream of all kinds of futures. Children who want to have money, who want to work. We work with young people in criminal structures and organizations who want to get out of them. We work with people in prison, young people who have been in juvenile detention centers because they've committed crimes and who are sure that they want a different life. We work with women who are involved in sexual activities, prostitution, and we're convinced we even work with people who use women and children in parceros. This is abuse. We've got a girl who was co-opted into prostitution from the age of 11. We've got people, or we work with people who were never looked at or considered before, and I'm so proud and happy that you're aware of this situation and that you're involved in this collective that involves all of us. It's not just one council, it's all of us working together with these people. So thank you very much for providing us with this space, and thank you very much for this award. I am really grateful and proud as well. And finally, I'm delighted to ask Mr. Fernando Padula, the Municipal Secretary for Education from Sao Paulo, to receive the award for the project Operation Work, working on school meals and school agents. The jury gave value to this to the incorporation of opportunities of training and work for women in the community. The guardians strengthen school food practices and looking after people and dealing with families and schools, involving them in schooling.
Aplausos para São Paulo, por favor.
A round of applause for Sao Paulo, please.
Agora vamos viajar para o meu...
Now, we're going to take a look at how this works.
Em São Paulo,
In Sao Paulo, there's an invisible network that supports education. It's not in books or in classrooms. It's in the streets, at front doors, in conversations on the pavement. It's in the hands of the guardian mothers. The guardian mothers of Active Search and School Feeding Project is grounded in a simple yet powerful perspective, that of those who know the community from within, an initiative that strengthens the relationship between school, family, and community, and has just been recognized with the Educating Cities Award, one of the most prestigious in the world in the field of education. Active School Search was born during the pandemic, when maintaining the bond between students and school became a mission of survival. Today, it continues to operate every day, identifying children who are out of school, visiting families, breaking down those barriers that separate a child from their right to learn. The results are tangible. the Sao Paulo Municipal School Network achieved the lowest school dropout rate of the last decade, reaching just a 0.6% according to the school census. It's the result of work of women like Daniela. For me, it's a job that's meaningful because we work with children for the well-being of children, to show children the importance of school, of skipping school. That can't happen, and that's why I joined this project. I have 3 daughters, so I know firsthand how important it is for children to be in school, to be studying, so that they can have down the road a better life, a good job, everything they need to move forward in life. From 2023 onwards, the school feeding guardians expanded that care, strengthening food education, environmental education, and school gardens. Because learning also happens at the table. Since then, the number of school gardens in the municipal network has grown every year from 1,542 in 2023 to 1,654 in 2025. Today, 484 women are active in this program, and more than 2,055 have already been part of it. And throughout the process, the guardians also transform. As they care, they grow. As they teach, they learn. For Beatriz, a guardian mother, this care holds an even more personal meaning. When I take care of other children, I feel affection for them the same way I feel affection for my own daughter, because I get to be present in a part that for me was a difficult situation with my daughter. So saying that I can contribute to nourishing other children makes me really happy. When a community enters the school changes too. The 2 programs are different in nature, but they share a single purpose: to bring school, families, community, and territory closer together. They show that educating is not a task confined to the classroom, but a responsibility shared by the entire city. Through these women, Sao Paulo reaffirms that school is also a space for care and social protection, civic participation, sustainability, and inclusion. A vision that guides the entire municipal network. In the Sao Paulo Municipal School Network, we learn every day that educating goes far beyond the classroom. Education is also care. It's listening. It's ensuring that every student feels that they belong to the school and knows that there is an entire network looking out for them. For the mayor of Sao Paulo, this project represents far more than numbers. The guardian mothers show that education in Sao Paulo is a collective endeavor. When the community cares, the city moves forward. This is the model we believe in, present in the territory, connected with families, committed to every child in our beloved city. These are women who took to the streets, who went to people's homes, who visited families, who changed their lives through the power of care. It's like this, with the community and the city administration working together, that Sao Paulo transforms itself. Every child who returns to school carries with them a guardian who never gave up, one who went to find her, who brought her back, another who welcomed her with care, with food, with a place that embraces. Together, they show that in Sao Paulo, educating and caring are inseparable. The city administration of Sao Paulo, here the work never stops.
Boa tarde.
Good afternoon. I wanted to say to Marina, the General Secretary of the association, I'd like to address Granollers and Alba and thank them for their welcome. Say how Maria Silvia and Josaura and the people from Sao Paulo are delighted to receive this award. Guardian Mothers is a social project that carries in its DNA social responsibility. seeking equality. I just want to tell you two things to explain the context of our program. The first one about its roots. It was 2021. The Education Secretary had just started, and we had that challenge of opening schools again during the pandemic. And during that period, Bruno Coves, the mayor, had health protocols to follow, so new tasks to be carried out by schools. And then there was a federal law enacted that meant that we couldn't increase the budget. And then I met the then Secretary for Education on the 5th floor at the council, Aline Cardoso, and I said, isn't there a way of giving us a larger budget so that we can do more? Because at the same time, research was showing that women were the most affected by unemployment and the economic crisis caused by the pandemic. And that's when Aline talked about the Operation Work program that started with her and that was followed by Unice and the Secretary Rodrigo Lai, all coordinated by Armando. And that led to our program Guardian Mothers, guardians of the health protocol of their children as well, because we needed to ensure social distancing, ensure that children wore masks, that they washed their hands, that the classrooms were cleaned. And that went on during 2021 and 2022. And the program was such a success that in 2023, and it was with under Cardo Nunes, because Bruno unfortunately died. And then these people were no longer agents for health protocol, but they became guardian mothers. And there are three essential pillars: access, guaranteeing access, and then permanence and quality. It was essential to recover that sense of belonging for children at school. And I learned how essential school is, school and teachers. And I don't think that artificial intelligence will ever replace teachers. I don't think homeschooling is the answer either. So these women became agents. They went to classrooms, they worked out who was missing, and then they made contact with the families, first of all by way of messages, then phone calls, and then they actually went to the homes of each of these pupils. And as you could see in the video, we achieved the lowest school dropout rate ever, 0.6%, the lowest in the history of Sao Paulo. And then the daughter of a guardian mother became a guardian mother for school meals, setting up school gardens to produce food, to look after these vegetable plots. And now with the guardian mothers for school meals, we've got school gardens and plots, and we're growing crops year-round for our children. So I'm delighted to be given that award. It's a responsibility as well. So thank you very much, and long live this Association for Educating Cities. Thank you very much.
Mais uma vez.
Once again, we'd like to congratulate the three winning cities for their extremely inspiring experiences. For those of us listening to all of this, and we're going to immortalize this important moment with a photo of the three winning cities, Medellín, Losada, and Sao Paulo. Could you come up together with the jury? We've got the representatives of the association here as well.
Para acabar, também convido.
And finally, we'd like to ask the finalist cities here with us today for a last family group photo. So Gunsan, Madrid, Paso Fundo, Rosario, San Justo, Turin and Villa de Cans. Would you mind coming up?
Por favor, uma salva.
A round of applause, please, for all of our winners. Thank you very much to all the cities that took part in this edition of the Educating Cities Award 2026 for sharing their best practices in education as a source of social inclusion and cohesion. We recall that all of these winning experiences are in our database, as well as the winning projects from previous editions and all the other initiatives that were shared. They're on bidce.org. Thank you very much to all of you. And now we'll continue with the closing ceremony of this 18th edition of the Educating Cities Congress. Thank you very much.
Moltes gràcies.
Thanks very much. Thank you to the winners, the finalists. Now, we'd like to ask the representative, Rosa Quintana, to come up, who represents the city of Montevideo, the organizing city of the 19th International Congress of Educating Cities. Rosa Quintana, would you please come up?
Lo demoré para que me apuraran 2 veces.
I was waiting for two rounds of applause. 2 rounds of applause. Right. Authorities and dear representatives of cities, friends, this international network of educating cities, allow me to greet, in particular, Granollers, the host city of this Congress, and express our recognition to all of the people who have worked and all of the volunteers who, with a great deal of commitment and hard work, made this Congress possible. They made us feel as if we were at home. I'd like to recognize Albert, who on Wednesday conveyed the soul and essence of the children of Granollers. And all the best to the teachers as well. Each Congress leaves a footprint. There's hard work, there's commitment, there's time. People who often don't play center stage, but it is possible to do this. It's impossible to ensure these events. So thank you to all of you. Now, we're going to show you a video of our city and the words from our mayor, Mario Vergara, who unfortunately wasn't able to come here.
En Montevideo.
In Montevideo, for 3 decades, we've promoted a way of governing that sees the city as an open classroom. We promote values-based education to build active citizenship across a lifetime, supporting every stage of life. We celebrate diversity because we understand that our culture can only grow when everybody is heard. We live sustainably, caring for every corner of our city and the future we share. It's a model of governance that puts people at the center. In 2028, Montevideo will host the 19th International Congress of Educating Cities, because education, like the sun, can and must reach everyone. Montevideo awaits you.
Vivimos tiempos
We are living in challenging times, and that's why educating cities continue to be more necessary than ever. Because an educating city isn't a program or an isolated policy. It's a way of governing, a way of understanding a city. It's a political, ethical, and daily decision. Montevideo has been an educating city since 1999. And during all of those years, we've learned something essential, that educating means extending rights, building opportunities, and strengthening the collective capacity to imagine a better future. We believe that cities bear the responsibility to construct spaces where nobody's left behind, cities where including doesn't mean compensating, but rather redistributing opportunities, cities where we understand that often we talk about people who are vulnerable when actually they're peoples whose rights have been diminished. And that is what we need to fight against. Cities in which sustainability makes sense because it's accompanied by social and human justice. The Charter of Educating Cities inspires us and guides us. In Uruguay, we have a figure that marked our history and our identity, Pedro Herrera, who promoted the main educational reform that was started in 1870. That led to secular, free, and compulsory education. He coined the phrase, education like the sun should reach everybody. Uruguay is a country with a strong democratic tradition, and that's why we know that education is one of the fundamental tools to organize a city that has critical thinking. Montevideo will focus on including and inhabiting sustainably. We want to share experiences, but we want to continue to learn from all of the cities in this network. I'm delighted to say that we are going to be taking on the relay of being the next host city of the Educating Cities Congress, based on the concept that everybody believes that the rights that we have are no coincidence, and they are the result of women and men who have fought. As educating cities, that's our challenge, and we have the commitment to do that. In Montevideo, we say, we look forward to seeing you because we need you to continue building present and future. And when sometimes we're overcome with desperation, what we were saying, when we fight We fight to overcome frustration. We remember Mario Benedetti. Don't give up. Please, just don't give up, because every day is a new beginning. Montevideo looks forward to seeing you. It's a living city. Its heart is beginning to beat more strongly as we approach 2028. It's open to the world. Educating and sustainable living aren't mere words, but rather a way of constructing present and future. We look forward to seeing you in Montevideo in 2028. Working together, always together, like the frogs in Granollers. Thank you very much.
Moltes gràcies, muchísimas.
Thank you very much, Ms. Quintana. Thank you very much, Montevideo. Now, the most symbolic act of the ceremony. Please don't leave, because it's time to hand over the responsibility for the organization of the next Congress of Educating Cities. So we'll ask the Mayor of Granollers, Alba Barnuzel, to come up onto the stage with the flag of the Educating Cities to hand it over to the representative of Montevideo. Here we go. Here's the relay.
Aquest és el moment. Granollers entrega...
So Granollers is handing over the baton to Montevideo. Good luck, Montevideo. All the best.
Aquest és el moment que tota la...
So the entire delegation of Montevideo has picked up the flag. A round of applause now for Montevideo, please. Thank you very much.
I per banyar tot això, les paraules...
And then we'd like to recall the words of someone who built bridges, the bridges that John Powell was talking about yesterday. You have the floor.
Soy del sur.
I'm from the south, and I come from the south. My personal story is that of a kid, because once I was a little boy, a boy who wanted to change his times, who wanted to change the world, the dream of a free society, a classless society. Now, obviously, I've made mistakes, but sometimes I'm nostalgic. Who was strong enough when we were talking about utopia? Nevertheless, I'm not looking behind, because I come from the fertile land, but I don't live to tell stories. I'm worried about the future that I won't see, and the future I'm committed to. Yes. It's possible to have a world with better humanity, but perhaps today the first task is that of taking care of life. But I'm from the south. I come from the south to this assembly. representing the millions of poor compatriots in the deserts, in the forests, in the savannah, in Latin America. Tolerance is essential to living in peace and understanding that we're different in the world. Fighting the dirty economy, drug trafficking, deceit, fraud, and corruption. Modern-day plagues caused by the person who believes that we're happy if we get rich by any means possible. We've sacrificed the old immaterial gods. We've left the temple, and we're organized by politics, economics, lifestyles. We can even pay for things in quotas, in installments. Until man gets out of all that, that's the long march and the challenge that we have ahead of us. And we're saying that, and we know what we're saying. We understand the solitude of war. Nevertheless, these dreams, these challenges on the horizon mean that we have to fight for an agenda of global agreements to govern our history and overcome, step by step, all of the threats that we face. Our species should have a government for humanity that overcomes individualism and involves everybody, not only immediate interests of those people suffocating us. At the same time, we need to understand that the penniless in the world or the homeless don't come from Africa or Latin America. They come from all of humanity. And so we need to ensure that these people can live in decent conditions. The necessary resources are there. They're part of the predatory waste of our civilization. We need consensus to show solidarity with the most oppressed. We need to punish speculation and waste. We need to mobilize major economies, not to create programmed goods that have programmed obsolescence. We need to try to help the poor people in the world. Human life is a miracle. Think about that. It's a miracle that we're alive, and nothing is worth more than life itself. Our biological duty is above everything else to respect life and promote it, look after it, procreate, and understand that our species is our us. Thank you very much.
Fantàstic.
Wow. Thank you so much. What a speech.
Moltes gràcies.
Thank you so much. And now, it's time to say farewell. I'll call up the mayor of Granollers, Alba Parnusell, to share a few closing remarks.
Bon dia.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Bonjour. Tot I que ja gairebé és
I said good morning, but it's well into the afternoon. 3 packed days. It seems incredible to think about it. 3 days of our Congress. Food for thought, sharing knowledge, new people, new friends, sharing smiles and emotions. Thank you all. Everyone who made this possible. First and foremost, I'd like to thank the organizers, the entire team, all the technicians from the Educating Cities team. Everyone from IACE, Albert, Marina, and everyone who spent the last 2 packed years working to prepare for this Congress since Alvaro was in Curitiba and was handed the flag. And huge thanks to every volunteer here. I can see quite a few volunteers in the room, but there have been so many of you from our city and neighboring cities. You make Granollers, as we said here today. As many of the participants said to me, people from all across the world, your hearts have opened up our city. You've opened your arms, you've opened your hearts to everyone who came from abroad, welcomed them to our city, supported them, and having you here in our city is both an honor and a pleasure. So thank you so much for your commitment and for working from the bottom of your hearts.
Gracias.
I'd also like to thank those people who are not here right now, but whom I do want to mention, all of the children, the teens, the teachers who spent the entire school year, as we heard, working to make this Congress possible. And their work will be included in our final conclusions. They filled this sports center with the view we heard from Francesco Tonucci this morning, such a necessary, essential view for our society, a fresh, new, open-minded point of view, the view of our children, the view of our young people. So thank you, and thank you to the entire scientific committee. We have the chair and other members of the committee here. Thank you to every person who spoke here. Thank you for accepting our invitation to join us here. Your names, your wisdom, your food for thought have contributed greatly to the success of our conference. Thank you to everyone for sharing your ideas, reflections, conversations, dialogues about cities, providing the broadest sense of education. And I think that each of you who has spoken over the last few days has raised many questions. But that's important, questioning the meaning of education. We have so many paths ahead, so many doorways that are open. We can learn from one another, from each other. And finally, I wish to thank all of the delegations who traveled here from all across the globe. Mayors and city councilors, teams from small cities, towns, thank you for having made the effort to come here, crossing oceans and sharing, as I said, your knowledge, your experience, and for demonstrating that every city and every town can raise our voice, that we can work hand in hand, looking one another in the eye to build a better future, to build more diverse, more inclusive, more welcoming, more diverse cities and towns, places where people feel like they're part of our community, places where we can build bridges, small bridges, short, long bridges, as John Powell said yesterday. Looking in every direction and hearing voices even from people who have very different points of view. Encompassing difference getting to know each other, recognizing each other, knowing that despite our differences, despite the diversity that sets us apart, we are all people, we're all human. And at the end of the day, we all want to love and be happy. So thank you all for this incredible sense of commitment and for continuing to look one another in the eye and embrace each other from the bottom of our hearts. In Granollers, you've seen our cities, our spaces, our residents, and we wanted to welcome you, make you feel at home, welcoming you with open arms. Even though it was just for a few days, we wanted for you to feel like you were part of our city. And we, too, wanted to feel like we were part of your cities, part of the collective whole of our world. So as we close this Congress, we have so many ideas, so many notes, so many ideas. And it's not just what we jotted down on paper, it's memories engraved upon our memories, in our hearts. Now, notes that will help each of us, regardless of where we work, to keep building a world, and especially towns and cities, that are more human. Places where we can live in coexistence, where we can welcome each and every person. As we bring an end to this Congress, what happened here remains in Granollers, in every city that joined us, in every IACE city, in every city from this incredible network of global cities, and in each and every one of us. As I said before, you remain in our hearts, because today and over the last few days, we've seen that education isn't just about conveying knowledge. It's about sharing, constructing, stitching ties, speaking to others, speaking to one another, and understanding that diversity is not about fragmentation, it's about expanding our horizons. And that is what we've done here. Each and every one of you has lit a light here in Granollers, and I hope that flame travels with you over the oceans, across many kilometers, and makes its way to Montevideo, a city that can hear the small flame of shared knowledge. Eduardo Galeano spoke about this. He talked about these little fires, these little flames, and I'm convinced that in the city of Montevideo, we will convey this light that has been conveyed for decades as we move forward towards the 19th and 20th Congress of Educating Cities. So thank you all for the light you have brought us, for the light we will continue to trumpet as we move forward. Have a great trip home, and do recall that cities that love each other never, ever truly say farewell. We'll keep crossing paths everywhere, so see you all very soon.
Again, muchísimas gracias.
And thank you all very, very much.
Pues antes de irnos,
Before the Congress ends, before we leave, Alba referred to an incredible author, Eduardo Galeano. And now I'd like to tell you a tale. The Sea of Little Fires. But I'm going to need your help. Pull out your phones. Turn on the lights so we can hear the wise words of Eduardo Galeano. Phones up, lights on. Here we go. We're all little flames. As Eduardo Galeano said, a man from the village of Negua on the coast of Colombia was able to climb to the highest heaven, and when he returned, he told what he had seen. He said that from up there he had contemplated human life, and he said that we are a sea of little flames. The world is that, he said, a multitude of people, a sea of little flames. Each person shines with their own light among all the others. No two flames are alike. There are huge fires, small flames, and fires and flames of every color. There are people with the calmest of fires who do not even notice the wind, and people with the mad fires that fill the air with sparks. Some fires, foolish fires, neither provide light nor burn, but others burn with such passion for life that you cannot look at them without blinking, and whoever comes near catches fire. In Granollers, your flames, your fires have lit up our imaginations and our thought. Our desire to build a better, more just future for all. And we have a request for you, a big request for you all. When you're back in your hometowns, in your cities, in your countries, take that flame and kindle it. Continue to ensure it burns. And when you think back to this little city alongside the Mediterranean, recall that a smile is there. Let that smile light up your faces, because that's what we'll do. We'll smile when we recall your incredible visit to us. This was a real embrace for us all. A huge hug, a hug of brotherhood and sisterhood. Thank you very much.
Desperta el dia sota el sol, hi ha algú que cuida la terra, algú que ja respon al plor amb les mans d'un vell poeta. Tu ets el somni que vols veure, no esperis que arribi l'hora. El meu poble ve de tot arreu, és un poble humil, camina a peu, té molts noms, té molts déus. El meu poble ve de tot arreu, el meu poble ve de tot arreu. Despierta el día bajo el sol, hay alguien que cuida la tierra, alguien que responde al llanto con las manos de un viejo profeta. No esperes a que llegue la hora, sé tú mismo que aparta las piedras. El meu poble ve de tot arreu, és un poble humil, camina a peu, té molts noms, té molts déus. El meu poble ve de tot arreu. Mi pueblo, Granollers, está contenta con su diversidad. Lo podéis ver en la pantalla. Igual que hoy.
My town, the town of Granollers, is greatly pleased by its diversity. You can see it up on the screen, and as we have built diversity, a mosaic of diversity here, you can see the colors of all of our voices, and I'd like to invite you all to sing with us this song from Charango, a singer that I sang, and it ends with a Brazilian phrase that I hope we can all sing together.
Aua heyo, heya heya, aua heyo, venga, heya heya, aua heyo, heya heya, aua heyo, més fort, heya heya, aua heyo, 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 heya heya, heyo, heya heya. Moltes gràcies.
Thank you all very much.
Wow! Que bonic!
Wow. Incredible. Thank you all. Thank you to all of our participants. This brings us to the end of this Congress. Thank you all. If I may, just a few practical details I need to share. I was asked to say this 5 times. Please, please, please return your headsets. You'll get your passports back. Of course, we'd like to keep them, but we'd keep you here in our city. But please do give back your headsets so you get your IDs back. Thank you all very much, and let's have a little bit more music. Have a wonderful trip back, everyone, and we look forward to seeing you the next time you're here. Thanks, everyone.